Life is precious. Too many people take life for granted, and I was one of them. I'm probably still guilty of taking life for granted sometime. Anytime that, I see life now as a second chance at helping others to not make the same mistakes that I made.
My son's life is full of challenge. My son he's a good man, very tender, hearted man. I would like to think God have a better plan for him.
He's definitely an individual who has fallen victim to not only drug addiction, but just the cycle that happens when you grow up in a tumultuous home.
My name is Joseph Rudolph Zamora.
Growing up, Joseph was an active child. He was very rambunctious. He was always outside, whether it be with himself playing, using his imagination, or with our younger sister Gabby or myself. Wasn't a kid who necessarily liked to stay at home or inside.
Joseph he liked to skateboard when he was younger, and he liked to play in the backyard with his friends, and also follow his daddy around on a golf course. That's what he does when he was a kid.
Dragon Ball Z and Thundercats.
Dragon Ball Z or Power Rangers. Power Rangers might be me, but we grew up with some mental and physical abuse.
Dad was like to drink a beer or two too much.
And then once he would get drunk, he would get mean. You know how the story goes.
That kind of came down on me in the form of physical and verbal abuse.
So it affected my son's life a lot.
When my dad was gone, my mom started leaving a lot. She would leave us at home, just by ourselves. She wouldn't show up for, sometimes a couple of days at a time. I remember vividly that it was summer, and we weren't allowed to turn on the air conditioning. That sucked.
Even as a kid, we protected each other growing up. And my dad was talking to me, he was yelling at me. He was like right in my face, like squaring up like boys do on the street. And my little brother, who must have been no more than 5 or 6, got in between us, and he just looks up with all the courage that he could muster, and he just goes, "You leave my little sister alone," or "You leave my big sister alone." I think that memory has always stuck with me, because here's this kid who knows he's going to get in trouble if he does this. He knows that the anger is going to get turned on him, but he didn't care, because who he loved, his big sister, was getting in trouble, and he knew he had to stand up for her. And as a child, with no prompting, with no one telling him to do that, he just had the fortitude to just stand up.
When I was sick, Joseph made sure I get everything I need by my bedside before he left to go out with his friend. And that is really one of my treasures for Joseph.
Before all that happened, in junior high and stuff, I was in trouble. I sought my escapes. I started seeking chemical escapes, and that affected my schooling. And I got in trouble. I wasn't dumb. I was smart. I could have been smart. I just didn't apply myself. I wouldn't do the homework, but I would pass the test. And I kind of went to the streets. So you don't want to stay in a hot house. So that's how I ended up conceiving my son at 15.
Joseph as a father, Joseph had Achilles when he was very young.
That was scary. All I was doing was trying to hang out with people, skate, and so that was nowhere near on my mind. I loved this girl. I was head over heels for her. It was scary, but it ended up being a blessing. I I stopped doing everything for a long time. I went to work full time. Actually enlisted in the Army. I couldn't get in because I was troubled youth, and then started working full time in construction here at 15, 16, and then eventually went to Texas, where I was working there, and then went to Oregon and was working there. Anywhere from night stalking to excavation and moving and stuff, just whatever full time jobs I could get. I don't know if I thought about want anymore at that point. It's what I had to do. I have to raise that life. I have to build it. I have to feed that life. I have to let it grow. I have to be dad. The day he was born, happiest day of my life. Man, I cried. I'll tell you what, I cried a lot, and that's like just something, because I grew up rough, I had bad parents, so remember when I walked out of the room and saw him for the first time, it was like, well guys, he's mine. Yeah.
Overall, Joseph loved his children very much, especially his son, Achilles. He will do worldly for him.
These are my top memories, period, is him and going to kindergarten for the first time. Man, I cried. And me and his mom, we weren't together, but we met up at school and we got to walk him to his class and stuff. And then, there's just a picture out there too. We took him to donuts when he got out. That was so cool. Just to see, this is like growing up, for this little baby that I used to have in my arms, and he used to confuse my nose for a nipple and suck on my nose and just be a little goofball. Slide down he couldn't crawl downstairs, so he would slide down on his belly, like boop, 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 like it's just little, at like 8 months old, into this kid that, knows his ABCs. I helped teach him his ABCs, helped teach him how to count, and watch whenever he couldn't even say a word, and now he's speaking sentences, and it's just so cool. He's just becoming his own. And every time I talk to him, it's a memory. I miss him every day. And from there, me and my dad rebuilt our relationship. I guess it built between us, him watching me be a man. I feel like he probably developed some sense of pride and life was good, but then I had a lot of respect for my dad. My dad, I don't remember him, from like the youthful abusiveness that came from him in his drinking. I remember him as like working with him in the kitchen. My dad, he was a hard worker, and it made me a hard worker. It's like, for me, it's like why walk when you can run? If you're going somewhere, and you can be carrying something, why are you walking empty-handed? Like, what more can you do? And I took that into, and from there into my machining career, and it catapulted me in my machining career. Whenever, I started in machining, I started as someone who just cleans metal parts. But the work ethic and watching my dad in that type of environment, in a year I became a supervisor, and after that I got promoted to CNC laser. Some people have to go to school for years to do that, but because I was just busting my tail like my dad showed me.
Joseph lost his father 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago. And as a proud man, prideful young man he is, he does not know how to express his grief.
It hit me really hard. He was like my best friend, and it's just, I don't think anyone I was like 24 when that happened, or 26, 25. No one expects that to come, especially after you just got out of the hospital and he lives through that. I didn't have a job. They said that, hey, if you go to your dad right now, which we thought he was gonna die, they're like, you don't have a job when you get back. I'm like, okay, well, bye, I'm gonna go see my dad. I was gonna go get him in 2 weeks, fly out there one way and drive him back. And they let him out of the hospital, and the day after he got out, he had another heart attack and they couldn't bring him back. And it's like, if I had just stayed there,
As time goes by, I hope he healed. I hope he knows it's not his fault. It's all in God's timing. And also it's nothing really anybody can do. due to his illness of a liver failure, because liver transplant was done in 2001. So it's really nothing anybody else can do.
But yeah, he was gone, and I didn't know. I've never coped or learned how to cope with someone that is a mountain in your life to be all of a sudden gone. I don't know how to fill that missing space. If you know what I'm saying, I don't. So.
You can't be what you don't know. If you don't know what love, if you don't know what discipline, if you don't know what focus, if you don't know what good leadership looks like, it is incredibly difficult to exemplify those things.
I just wasn't myself. When I landed, I wasn't myself. I wasn't talking the same. I wouldn't leave the room. When he was in the hospital and they knew that he wasn't going to come back, they wanted to go talk to him. I was like, I can't go talk to him. I can't. And from there, I needed an escape from that. I couldn't deal with it. And that definitely, it got worse and worse from there. I was lost. I fell down a deep depression, and these things that I did, this stealing, the drug addiction. The stealing was to feed the drug addiction. The drug addiction was to help me escape from my reality, from myself. So I break down, so on the verge of suicide. So I get high to escape that, knowing that I ruined my life. And that's what I saw. I didn't have a life more, and I'm sorry that my addiction has caused so many problems to so many people, so many businesses in my community that I was once a good, productive part of. But if we could go back, I wouldn't make the same mistakes, and not just the fact that I got caught, but if I could right all the wrongs that I could, I would right that wrong, and I'm sorry. I wrote a letter to the officer. I don't know if he'll get it. I'm sorry that we've become acquainted through such circumstances, because I'm sure that the man that I am now, you very well may have been okay with maybe even calling a friend, not just an acquaintance, that I never wanted to hurt you. I was just scared. I was on drugs. I was lost out there. I was homeless. I'm sorry for all that it put you through. I'm sorry if it caused any impact on your profession, which I hold in very high esteem. I'm sorry that my mistakes and the life I was living had to affect yours in such a negative way. And I'm thankful for this reality check. I'm thankful for the time that I've been here. I've been in programs that I never even knew about. I've had the ability to rehabilitate. This is the longest that I've been sober in my adult life from anything, as small as cigarettes up to prescription painkillers because of my back. And I every day is make the most of it, in the cleanest way possible, and to help others. I do what I can to help others, and I'm sorry that I ever got to the man and monster that I became.
And if you wanted to take the opportunity to tell anything to your son right now, what would you tell him?
I'm sorry that I love him and I miss him, and if there's anything that I could do to be there with him, being the dad that I'm supposed to be and that he knows me to be, that I would, but also that I made a mistake and I have to suffer the consequences for my mistakes, as all men do. If you do bad things happen. If you do good things happen. and I have to accept the responsibility for my actions. And I just hope that it doesn't do anything to deter from the relationship that we have, because that kid's my everything.
I went through a very darkest time. I pray to God, why is He still with me? But today, I am truly grateful that my son's still on earth with me.
What he deserves is help. That's what he needs. He needs rehabilitation because he is an individual that who, if he has purpose and if he has the tools that he needs, he can turn his life around. And I genuinely mean that. I believe that with the entirety of my soul.
And he's taking a lot of beating in there because he don't want to do things they want him to do.
He said, if you don't have prejudice against blacks now, you will when you get out of prison. I said, don't get away from that stuff. When I get out of prison, I'm going to have a college degree. When I get out of prison, I'm going to be programmed. When I get out of prison, I'm going to hopefully know another language, at least sign language, and be fluent in Spanish. Like, I'm going to better myself. I'm not going to let this make me into something that I'm not. I'm going to use this to make me better, which I've done my best to do up to this point. Life is precious. Too many people take life for granted, and I was one of them. I see life now as a second chance at helping others to not make the same mistakes that I made, and God has saved my life, and He has done wonders. And God has given me not just a reason to live, but the will to do it. You know, I just want, I guess, the world, the judge, the prosecutor, my loved ones, and my victims to know that the monster that I became is not the man that I am, nor the man that I was created to be. And I know that